So one comment that keeps popping up in this whole debate around Matrix Resurrections is that the movie is being compared to The Last Jedi. Most famously and probably first by David Ehrlich, who is chief film critic at IndieWire, and he said in his tweet, "The Matrix Resurrections, despite and because of its infinite goofiness, is the boldest and most vividly personal sequel since The Last Jedi. A silly, sincere galaxy brain take on reboot culture that makes peace with how modern blockbusters are now only about themselves." Well, that's a horrible take, in my personal opinion. He does compare it to The Last Jedi, and I saw it in the comments under my review video popping up as well. A lot of people compare it, and the comparison is not wrong, because there are a lot of similarities between those two films. One of them being that both divided and split their fan base in half. I tweeted out this picture from two comments that were posted also under my review video. And right one after the other, one saying, "I love this film, Matrix Resurrections, 10 out of 10, followed by another comment that says 1 out of 10, worst sequel of all times. And you see similar comments on the Rotten Tomato page for The Last Jedi, where people like the best Star Wars movie in years. And right underneath, I hate it, one of the worst movies about Star Wars. So both films just split the fan base in half. Also, both movies kind of broke a streak of a popular and mostly positively received series of movies. Yes, you can argue about the popularity of the prequels. You can also argue about the popularity of the Matrix sequels. But by no means were those films received as badly as The Last Jedi or Matrix Resurrections. Also, both of them broke with the canon or the logic that was built up previously in that universe, right? They drew a hard line and said, no, we're going to do things differently now. And, not Neo is the chosen one, now it's Trinity, which makes a lot of things that happened previously obsolete. It made these hard cuts. Both movies did that. Also, both movies were just a little bit more silly, I would say, than all the movies that happened before them, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a similarity between both of them. They showed quite little respect for the old and beloved characters, right? We've seen it in The Last Jedi, but also Matrix Resurrections. I mean, you can argue, sure, it put Neo and Trinity on a pedestal and showed a lot of love, maybe a bit too much, to those characters. Whether they treated them with respect is a different question, but I can see that argument being made. But look what they did to Morpheus. Look what they did to Agent Smith. Look what they did to Niobe and all these characters. I've seen so many comments, literally countless comments of people complaining that not enough respect was paid to those characters. And last but not least, both films are just terrible movies, okay? At least in the context of the other movies in the series. And I mean, don't get me wrong, before I move forward in this, I don't want to defend The Last Jedi. I hate that film. It was a terrible movie. It had loads of flaws, and it basically ruined the whole sequel trilogy, because it not only was like a film that was ruined by itself, it also ruined The Rise of Skywalker that came after it, because it was so hard to follow up to that film, because it left such a mess. So I hate The Last Jedi, but I have to say, in the context of comparing those two movies, The Matrix Resurrections and The Last Jedi, I have to defend The Last Jedi for various reasons. For example, The Last Jedi was shot beautifully. It was shot professionally. It had great costumes. It had beautiful set pieces. It looked like its budget. It had great choreography. I mean, okay, for the most part. I know there are a few cringy scenes in the throne room fight, where some of those red soldiers, they literally do nothing. They're just in the background moving, so it looks like they're part of the choreography. I get it. But for the most part, the choreography of the film was great. It looked like people put effort into it. People thought about it, and they wanted to make it the best they could, I guess. While Matrix 4 looked cheap, it looked unconsidered, and the choreography was just terrible. Like, all the aspects that I just highlighted in The Last Jedi that could be seen as positive were terrible. Also, The Last Jedi's cast was not all bad. I get it, there were like some black sheep in there, and it was not the perfect cast by all means, but at least it felt like the actors were dedicated to their characters. They wanted to make it the best they could. And I understand if you write a bad character, like maybe the character arc of Finn and Rose Tico and so on, then it's difficult to act good and to turn this into something that's gold when the script that you're being given just sucks. But in comparison, The Matrix 4, in terms of acting and the characters, was just lackluster. It felt uninspired. It was badly acted, and someone said it in the comments quite nicely, it felt like the performances were mailed in, okay? The amount of scenes where Keanu just says, yeah, it's just hilarious. Like, if you rewatch the film and pay attention to that, it feels like nobody thought about it in this film. So again, while The Last Jedi falls short on a lot of aspects when it comes to cast and acting, The Matrix falls shorter, if you can say it. Like, I don't know how to express it otherwise. But in my opinion, it falls way behind of what The Last Jedi delivered. Also, The Last Jedi, at least for me, was not instantly recognizable as terrible, okay? When I left the cinema, I remember I even made a review. It's still on my channel. You can look it up. And in that review video, I basically say, yeah, you know, at least the film tried something new and it went into a different direction. And I didn't instantly fathom the consequences that film had. It took me a while, and then I understood, oh my god, how are you going to even build on that? What happened with all these characters? Of course, there were like obvious failures in there, but it was not instantly recognizable as a hard failure to me when I left the cinema, while The Matrix 4 Resurrections took about 3 minutes, okay? Seeing that film, seeing how it looks, how it was acted, like I said in my review, unless there would have been like a big twist or something that kind of revealed everything just to be like a Truman Show act, it was clear after 2 minutes that this is going to be a terrible failure. And it just got worse towards the end. So again, The Last Jedi at least camouflaged it better what damage it did to the franchise as a whole, right? The Matrix, it was immediately clear the second the movie finished that this was a catastrophe for this franchise. Also, The Last Jedi had at least some good ideas and themes. I would list the character development of Rey and Kylo, how they grew together and what happened between those two characters. Also, the theme of failure being the biggest teacher. And there were some themes in that film that you could highlight. Not many, admittedly, not many, but some themes that you could highlight that were not a complete catastrophe. While The Matrix 4 Resurrections, for the large part, it just reversed a lot of the themes that we learned or knew about from the previous Matrix movies, like Neo having to make all these big and high impact decisions, right? Matrix versus real world, fate versus the predictions of Oracle and all that. And all that is being nullified by now saying, oh, no, now it's Trinity. It's Trinity now. You know, why did all this happen? Why did we even go through all this if now Trinity is the chosen one? Also, all the characters in this film seem to have no motivation. All the villains want to torment Neo for unexplored reasons. Nobody knows why. All that Neo cares about is Trinity, and his relationship with Trinity is like the director put that kind of at the center, at the heart of the film and all that. Sure enough, but you can't say that is like a really strong theme that this film put forward. So I think these are loads of points where, despite The Last Jedi being a horrible movie in the context of its bigger franchise and dividing the fans, doing all the things we spoke about at the beginning, in the bigger picture, it's still the better film in many regards when compared to The Matrix Resurrections. So that's why I think this comparison falls short and is nearly unfair towards The Last Jedi, as much as I hate to say this. Anyway, guys, this is my take. I thought I'd just share this with you guys because, like, I see this comparison all the time. People are like, oh, it's the new Last Jedi and all this. No, it's actually much worse than that. In my opinion, it is much worse than that, and it shouldn't be compared to that film, despite them having some similarities. Anyway, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you being here, hanging out with me. We've just crushed through 10,000 subscribers, which is really amazing. So everyone who's watching, everyone who just subscribed, and everyone who has been subscribed for a long time, I really appreciate you. Thanks so much for being on board with the channel. Don't forget to smash the like button on this video. It really helps the channel out. If you haven't subscribed yet, and this is the first video you're seeing on this channel, then please go ahead, check out the channel, subscribe to it, hit the bell, do the thing so you're not missing uploads in the future. Again, thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you in another video. Take care of yourselves, and I'm out. Bye.